So you might think the American Revolution ended with a bang, but really, the fight for what America would become was just getting started. This was a whole new kind of battle, not fought with muskets, but with ideas, and it pitted two powerful competing visions for the country against each other. This is the story of that great debate, the Federalists versus the Anti-Federalists.
And this quote right here, it just nails the biggest fear that was sweeping the nation. The question everyone was asking was, is this new, powerful central government going to just steamroll everything that makes our state unique? I mean, this wasn't just some political disagreement. It was a deep, fundamental question about power, freedom, and identity.
So how did we even get to this point? Well, after winning independence, the brand new country was running on something called the Articles of Confederation, and they were, by design, super weak. It gave the national government almost no power. By 1787, pretty much everyone agreed it just wasn't working, and the country was at a major crossroads.
So, a bunch of delegates get together, in secret, by the way, and they draft this totally radical new plan, the U.S. Constitution. It laid out a national government that was way more powerful than anything they'd had before. But it wasn't a done deal. Nope. This draft was sent out to all 13 states, where it was going to be debated, torn apart, and voted on in special conventions. The people would get the final say.
And here's the kicker. The magic number was 9. For this new constitution to become the law of the land, at least 9 of the 13 states had to sign off on it. This set the stage for one of the most intense, passionate, and honestly, most important political showdowns in American history.
Okay, so who were the two teams in this national throwdown? As arguments started heating up in newspapers and town halls, two clear sides emerged. You had the Federalists, who were all in on the new Constitution, and then you had the Anti-Federalists, who were, well, deeply skeptical, to say the least.
Okay, so let's break this down. When you put them side by side, you can really see just how different their visions were. On one side, you've got the Federalists. They wanted a beefy central government run by smart, qualified people. They were terrified of chaos, of what they called factions, basically special interest groups running wild. But on the other side, you have the Anti-Federalists. These guys had just fought a war against a powerful king, and they were not about to create a new one. They wanted power to stay local, with the states, and they absolutely demanded a Bill of Rights to protect people's freedom from a new ruling class.
Now, to win this thing, the Federalists basically launched one of the most brilliant PR campaigns in history. They wrote a series of essays that we now call the Federalist Papers, and their absolute masterstroke argument, the real heart of their case, is laid out in an essay by James Madison known as Federalist Number 10.
So at the heart of this whole debate was one big problem: factions. You can think of them as political parties or special interest groups or any group of people who want something for themselves, even if it hurts everybody else. Both sides agreed factions were super dangerous. The million-dollar question was, how do you stop them?
And this is where Madison's genius really shines through. He says, look, you can't get rid of factions without getting rid of liberty. It's like trying to get rid of air just because it helps fuel fire. It's impossible and a terrible idea. So he realized the goal shouldn't be to eliminate factions, but to build a system that could control them. And his solution was this beautiful, counterintuitive 3-step logic. First, you just have to accept it. In a free country, you're going to have factions. Second, in a huge country like America, you won't just have 1 or 2 factions, you'll have tons of them, all with different interests. And third, and this is the clincher, all these different groups will be constantly competing with each other. They'll have to compromise and form coalitions, which makes it nearly impossible for any single one to become a tyrant and take over.
So, Madison completely flipped the script. He argued that the country's huge size and its incredible diversity, the very things people thought were weaknesses, were actually its greatest strengths. It was like a built-in firewall for freedom.
But wait, the Anti-Federalists weren't just going to sit back and take it. They had their own powerful counterargument, and they laid it out in a famous essay written by someone using the name Brutus. And their argument was built on a completely different idea of how a country should work.
And this right here, this is the absolute heart of the disagreement. It's fascinating, right? Brutus takes the exact same starting point, a giant, diverse country, and comes to the total opposite conclusion. For the Federalists, a large republic was the cure. For Brutus and the Anti-Federalists, it was the disease.
See, for Brutus, history had one clear lesson. For a republic to work, it had to be small, and its people had to be pretty similar. You know, a community where folks generally share the same values and can trust the people they elect.
He warned that in a huge, sprawling nation, all you'd get is endless bickering, total gridlock, and a government that couldn't possibly represent anyone properly.
Brutus was looking at the fine print. He pointed to parts of the Constitution like the necessary and proper clause and basically said, hey, this is a blank check for the government to do whatever it wants. He was terrified of a government so far away that you'd never know your leaders, and they'd have no reason to listen to you. For him, a powerful central government wasn't a protector of freedom. It was the #1 threat.
All right, so after all this back and forth, who actually won this epic war of ideas? Well, the outcome shaped the United States in ways we still feel every single day. And the truth is, both sides left their fingerprints all over the final product.
In the short term, the Federalists got their win. State by state, the Constitution was ratified. They successfully convinced enough people that this new, stronger government was the only way the young nation was going to survive.
But, and this is a huge but, the story doesn't end there. The Anti-Federalists might have lost the battle over the Constitution itself, but they absolutely won the argument for our rights. Their constant, powerful demands for protecting individual liberties couldn't be ignored, and that pressure led directly to the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, what we all know as the Bill of Rights. In a very real way, they saved the soul of the new nation.
And you know what's incredible? We are still having this exact same debate today. Over 200 years later, is a strong central government the best way to keep all the competing special interests in check, like Madison believed? Or has it become that distant, disconnected power that Brutus feared would make people feel like they have no voice? That was the core question then, and it's a question we're all still trying to answer now.